come back with our attempted variant of Yorion. It's a bit of a gamble. Second land, it's very good. If we don't, so maybe this hand should be a mulligan, but we're good. I have the camera shut off. Alright, leading on Thoughtseize. Probably gotta take Strict Proctor here would be my guess. Chance that we're up against Grease Fang. And we don't want the second land, so Sealed Curtains. No, either way, I have the camera off because I know you gotta come and go. The player discards a card and draws a card. Response, Discontinuity. So do this. Find Thespian stage. Play Thespian stage. Okay, well. So our play is just some type of green-black rock nonsense with Concealing Curtain adding to their density of Thoughtseize-esque effects. Don't know that we really have a whole lot for that style of matchup, but temporary lockdown, yeah. Ether Gust, Shark Typhoon. Those of you wondering about this version, I haven't seen really anybody mess with the 80 card variant or an 80 card variant of Lotus Field, and obviously it dilutes the Lotus Field portion of the deck, and I'm not going to deny that. But when you combine Sylvan Scrying plus cards like Up the Beanstalk, you know, it kind of feels like there's enough density of spells to, or density of lands, you know, Lotus Field copies that feels like there's enough of a density to justify running 80 cards now. Now, whether we have the right balance with, you know, 10 sweepers in our main deck and, you know, a lot of other stuff kind of remains to be seen, but like, obviously, if we run up against a creature-based or a non-creature-based deck, you know, having 8 sweepers, and then 2 supplementary sweepers that are also effectively part of your land base you know, it remains to be seen if we have enough cards for decks like Blue-White X Control, but I think one of the adjustments I wanted to make to the sideboard was to get 4 leyline on the board, so maybe I'm just supposed to go like 4 leyline, 4 leyline on the void, and then just like address the rest of the deck around the concept of, you know, just having kind of modal cards like Ether Gust and Dovin's Veto with Thought Distortion. Because like the decks that really get us, you know, our disruption decks like Spirits and Rogues, which I don't think we're winning those matches anyway, so not really, you know, outside of something like Dramoka helping out in those matchups, there's not really a ton of opportunities to improve those matchups. I think it's just best to like improve the cards and matchups that, you know, give us fits. Our opponent might be roping us because they didn't like what we were running, basically. We're basically set up to hunt a deck like Rakdos Mid and those kind of decks, so makes a ton of sense that our opponent's not thrilled about that. Alright, on to the next batch. Alright, match 2. This is almost the perfect hand. I mean, the early turn's a little bit awkward, but this is one of the matchups that I was kind of worried about, though. Okay, so this is more looks like a variant of Fires. I was thinking it might be blue-white with Jeskai Trinum, but let's see if they go after Strict Proctor here. This is one of those matchups that is very pilot dependent, especially the fire side. If they're very good at playing the instant speed corner case portions of their deck, playing around cards like Farewell, the matchup is very close, possibly slightly in Fire's favor. If they're just more slam my stuff, ha ha ha, I win, then it gets very awkward for the opponent. Alright, so if I play this, I should probably play Up the Beanstalk first. Draw a card. Play Proctor. Play Lotus Field. So the way the deck is built now, because I made some adjustments after the previous match to include ley lines. I would like to get 4 and 4 ley lines in, but in order to leave enough cards to take out against decks like blue-white control? Is it creativity? I had to limit to 3 and 3. That way I have 8 slots that I can bring in against other control decks. Whether they be, blue-white decks, is it creativity? With the 2 Dovin's Veto, the 2 Thought Distortion, the 2 Shark Typhoon, and the 2 New Visit. So, obviously, if this were, the full Pioneer format, I'd probably run Dromoka instead, or maybe a 1-1 split on Dromoka and Niv, because Dromoka is significantly better in the aggressive matchups. But so play Thespian stage. I feel like our opponent might be roping here. What I don't understand on Arena is, yeah, sure, you have the option to rope, you have the option to do whatever you want, really. But it's like, if you don't like an archetype you're playing against, just concede the game, move on. It's just kind of, waste of everybody's time. Like Magic Online, I understand, there's money on the line, tickets, whatever you want to call it. With this, it's just like, especially at the end of the season, it's not really worth, Feels like our opponent's kind of conceded here already, so definitely feels like we're getting rope-a-doped. So the line here, if we were playing an actual game of, Magic the Gathering, I probably would have discontinuity'd here or held up Shark Typhoon. One or the other, maybe cycle Shark Typhoon, as we really want to find a copy of Teferi to close out this game. Yeah, I literally don't care about Trial of Ambition. Okay, so separating mana. Okay, I feel like there's enough to do both, right? Alright, and my opponent concedes because the game is clearly over. Anything I want to bring in this matchup? Maybe additional win cons, because they could bring in like extraction effects and whatnot. Bring in these over maybe copies of Laydown Arms. Could just bring in the Shark Typhoons. Thought Distortion is okay. Dovin's Veto is okay. Neither of them are overly exciting. Go down on Doom Scars and really kind of lean into the more powerful end of our deck. Okay. I mean, I guess the one downside is that we need a white source for this hand to be good. Is that enough of a reason to mulligan the hand? And we'll keep. And we have a wiener. Bit of reading? Yep. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Go get a 3-drop. Right of Autumn. Blow up the. The only real option here is Dovin's Veto. Arsonist? Yeah, you're not going to get much out of that. You're literally getting Dovin's Veto. Alright, we have 8 draws in our deck that are, well, 6 that are very good, 8 that are pretty reasonable. So, 8 mana, 3 to put that in my hand. Cast this. That was Shark Typhoon, which is kind of middling. Lotus Field, sack. These two. Back in, draws a card, we find Teferi. If. It's instant sorcery. Okay. Ironically, they get nothing. He'll have to go get a 5-drop. 5-drop do you go get here? Draw a card, then we discard any rolling cards. Target creature. Okay. Union. Why would you leave Portable Hole in your deck? Yeah, pretty easy win overall. Alright, now this hand is... I do think we keep it, but it is risky if we don't draw a second land in our 2 draw steps. Particularly a blue land. Do this to slow green down. It's time to slow you down. Excellent with Foil Haven, perhaps. Yep, another Irish Mystic. So, do that. This leaves us the option of either setting up Collected Company Elves. Ah, looks like we're going to be spending our turn blowing up their world. Master into Elf. Baby Elf da 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 da. Baby Elf da 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 do. So now we have decisions to make. Do we turf Fluffle or do we... Oh, I guess we do that instead. Yeah, the random reach on Jaspera Sentinel is just kind of weird. Mm-hmm. Let's keep it moving. Third copy of Collected Company, sure. Alright. Opponent's 3 collected company is trumped by our 3 board sweepers. So... the downside to the current construction is we're not really having any more tools for creature-based matchups. So... we could bring in Nivs, like Nivs can ping down individual elves, but it's really not better than anything currently in our deck, so... one kind of corner case card we could consider would be Leyline, because of, say, they have Shaman in the pack, but that feels very, very middling and very not really conducive to what we're trying to do. Just gotta kind of accept with this deck that you're gonna lose to spirits, you're gonna lose to decks like rogues. You're gonna have a tough time against decks that play Hullbreaker Horror and try to solve the equation for the other decks. So turn 2, Sylvan Scrying. Turn 3, Discontinuity. Whatchamacallit, turn 4, Farewell. Hope we don't die before then. March, maybe? If our opponent has a draw like they did last game, I don't know this hand on the draw is going to be fast enough, but it's one of the risks without playing, you know, additional cards like Temporary Lockdown. If you don't have an opening that involves Doomscar, you're not doing anything really, really relevant turn 4. Our best draw would probably be a copy of what is that? Swords to Plowshare equivalent. One of our 2 copies of... and drawing a blank. Land, go. Take the opportunity to play our tap land. Yeah, it looks like they have Shaman in their deck, which, not surprising, but... well... do I even play Sylvan Scrying now? Copy of Thespian Stage for the post board. Not the post board, the post sweeper stuff. Obviously would love to draw. Harsh Proctor. Or Strict Proctor, sorry. Mm-hmm. Discontinuity. And do we survive this turn? Land, hold up Coco. No Coco. Don't really flash elves. What is holding? I was gonna say, what is holding priority? Clan Collar. Assassin's Trophy, possibly? Is that the card they're holding on to? That feels like a possibility with the mana they're playing with. Because there's something that's causing a stick. I think they're hoping that we were going to try to Thespian stage. Would also explain why they're playing so weirdly. Not really thinking Assassin's Trophy is the card you want in this matchup, but what do I know? Yeah, it definitely feels like the card that's sticking is Assassin's Trophy. Sure. Trigger. Another copy of Lotus Field. I don't have a ton going on this turn, but at least we have March in response to something like Collected Company and Shaman of the Pack. Three, go ahead and kill this. Slow things down. Yep, might have to bust out that Assassin's Trophy you've been chilling on. Oh, Drive Elite. Alright, and our opponent concedes. Nice! Alright, now we are back with the wrap for Yorion, Up the Beanstalk, Lotus Field. Obviously it's hard to say because matchups we ran into are pretty decent matchups for Lotus Field. We were pretty fortunate with our draws, but I do think there is merit to playing with a Yorion variant of this deck. You know, I already thought that the variant with Sylvan Scrying and Lotus Field was a little compact, and that there was some room there potentially to brew at the 80 card variant, as you know, most of the 60 card variant had been running 3 or 4 impulse, no Sylvan Scrying, and then, you know, some people started messing with Up the Beanstalk. So I was like, okay, is there a way to fill this out that makes sense, that plays to what the deck does strength-wise? What were the weaknesses of the deck? Obviously, instant speed things. The nature of this deck, only so much you can do. You know, you can play things like Settle the Wreckage, you know, Hullbreaker Horror yourself, Dromoka. You know, if Dromoka was legal in the Explorer format, obviously. What I do like about this variant is it feels like you finally have room for everything you want in the deck. You have room for the 8 copies of Lotus Field, or copies of Lotus Field. You have room for 4 Doomscar, 4 Farewell without taking up stuff in your sideboard. You have 6 pieces of early interaction. You know, you're not playing Ether Gust, which is obviously a bit of a drawback against decks like Mono Green, but you do have 4 March of Otherworldly Light, 2 Lay Down Arms to kind of, you know, bridge that early turns, which you'll usually see one of them, which is basically what you need, because you really need a play for turn 1. Turn 2, you hope to play a Sylvan Scrying or Strict Proctor, you know, or some effect like that. And then turn 3, start your Lotus Field, go from there. You know, you have the 8 Discontinuity / Strict Proctor effects. Not really any way to increase that, unfortunately. But downside, you only have 4 Memory Deluge, you only have 4 Teferi. Would be nice to have another card advantage engine, but Up the Beanstalk fills that quite nicely. Basically anything you cast, basically casting one of the 10, 12, 14, 18, 19, 21 cards in your deck trigger Up the Beanstalk. In addition to much of Otherworldly Light can also trigger it. So a lot of things that trigger your card advantage engine besides Memory Deluge. And then, you know, obviously Yorion triggers it when it comes into play, and then you can blink it out, trigger it again. You know, you don't really have a lot of things to blink out with Yorion other than that. The Wandering Emperor, if you used it to Teferi, if you've ticked it down. You know, or you can use Yorion to blink out your Teferi, cast your Ondu Inversion. You know, there are some things you can do, but as far as the sideboard, now, Leyline of Sanctity, you don't need a ton of help against Thoughtseize decks, but just having a little bit of extra, you know, blinking Thoughtseize, blinking, you know, cards like Go Blank, Duress, you know, it's quite nice. Takes away a good bit of Rakdos Midrange's main way of attacking you. Rakdos Sack means they can't ping you with, you know, things like Mayhem Devil in addition to their Thoughtseize effects. So I think that's pretty reasonable. Leyline of the Void, now, it's kind of narrower what decks you're going to bring this in against. You're obviously going to bring it in against Greasefang. You might bring it in when Is It Phoenix is finally, you know, full strength on Explorer or / Pioneer. It's also a card you can bring in against potentially Sack, blanking Croxa, blanking Cat Oven, don't really know it's really for those matchups. This is more for Greasefang, more for Is It Phoenix. And then the rest of the cards, you know, Dovin's Veto is a card you can bring in against decks like Mono Green without really affecting your game plan too much. You know, you might want to shave an Up the Beanstalk, shave a Wandering Emperor or something, you know, some low impact cards to have something for Karns and for Storm the Festival, which are probably your two worst cards. Shark Typhoon, just as additional win cons and control mirrors and such, or when you're going to be boarding down some of your, you know, lay down arms and sweepers and such. Niv Mizzet. Now, Niv is probably quite good in against control decks, quite good against combo, okay against spirits. Really, this is probably a slot you're going to want Dramoka in when it becomes available. But for now, Niv is a perfectly reasonable card that you can cast, especially once you have Lotus Field. And then you look at hate cards you could play against: Damping Sphere, Pithing Needle, basically anything that's not an extraction effect to take your Teferis out or your Lotus Fields. You have March of Otherworldly Light and Farewell against, so you're pretty well set up against most hate cards you're going to see. You know, you're still weak to flash decks, you know, whether it be Spirits or Rogues. That's just nature of the deck. You're still going to be weak to Hullbreaker Horror. Discontinuity is like your best engine against that, but other than that, if that resolves, you're basically screwed because most of your answers to it are very expensive. Even something like the Wandering Emperor, which is on the cheaper end for the deck. Good luck resolving it against a Hullbreaker Horror if they have open mana and spells in hand. So the rest of the game plan, we have 8 to 10 cards we want to board out against control, lay down arms, most of our sweepers. We have 8 cards to board in: Dovin's Veto, Shark Typhoon, Leyline, or Thought Distortion, Niv Mizzet. That's all kind of thought out. And the rest of the deck, I basically increased the land base. I believe we're currently running 34 lands, 36 if you include 2 Ondu Inversion. You could switch out this for like 1 Jawari Disruption just as another early play. But you have 36 lands, which is about the equivalent of 27 that you see a lot of the normal versions run. Like I said, the only real weakness is not increasing the density of Discontinuity or Strict Proctor effects, and then obviously it's a little bit harder to find your Teferis or Memory Deluges. But yeah, I really like the cleanliness of this build. Don't know if the mana base is 100% where it needs to be right now, but you know, there are a lot of tap lands. You have 4 Irrigated Farmland, 4 Sparrow's Headquarters, 4 Lotus Field, 2 Ondu Inversion. So sequencing is quite important. But yeah, this list felt pretty clean for the matchups we played. So, like this kind of content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you for our next video.